Good morning. Welcome back to day 3 of the PENC Raleigh seminar. Thanks for being with us today. I'd like to give a quick thank you to our sponsors, BGE, ECS, NC Electric Cooperatives, Terracon, McAdams, WSP, Highfill, SNME, Dewberry, and Schnabel Engineering. Just a quick reminder, your PDH forms and your NC Bell survey will be emailed out to you around midday today. If you've not received any of your forms for the previous days, send me an email and I'll make sure that you get those. We will be taking questions at the end of the presentation, and as always, type those into the questions box and I will read those out loud for our speaker. Our speakers this morning are Alicia Lanier and Sheila Thomas Ambat. Alicia Lanier serves as the city's program manager for the Watershed Master Plan program and is enjoying applying her skills in managing complex interdisciplinary projects to this program. Alicia has over 20 years experience in all things water, including stormwater, green infrastructure, wastewater reuse, non-point source pollution, water treatment, water rights, and more. Most of her experience has been as a consultant for a variety of clients across the country, with a recent focus on facilitating multi-day strategic planning workshops and training research teams in concepts of managing complex interdisciplinary multi-year projects. She is a licensed professional engineer in California, Oregon, and North Carolina, with a Master's of Science in Biological and Agriculture Engineering from NCSU. Sheila Thomas Ambat is the Public Services Director for the City of Fayetteville, where she leads a department of 200+ staff with an annual budget of $45 million, with oversight for the engineering, stormwater, traffic, construction management, street maintenance, solid waste divisions, and real estate divisions. Sheila has over 26 years of engineering experience, both in the public and private sector. Over the past 20+ years, she has built an exemplary record of performance overseeing public works projects. In particular, she is engaged in long-term strategic planning and resource oversight for water resources and capital improvement projects. She is a licensed professional engineer with a master's in environmental and water resources engineering, a certified construction manager, certified stormwater manager, and a certified floodplain manager. Alicia, I will turn it over to you now.
Okay, thank you, Katie. And so you can hear me pretty well?
Yes, you sound great.
Okay, great. Okay, and just for clarification, everybody, I'm the city's internal program manager. We have an external program manager consulting team, Freeze and Nichols, and they've really helped spearhead this effort. So just wanted to make that clarification. So today I'm gonna, and I appreciate y'all attending. I think we're doing some great stuff at the city of Fayetteville, and having grown up nearby and watching this town evolve, it's just amazing to me. So I'm going to talk about our Watershed Master Plan program, and I titled this Building It for Resiliency from the Ground Up. And we really have taken big strides over the last, I think it's just the last 3 years, in building a Watershed Master Plan program. And a lot of work has been done, and maybe a lot of you have been involved. We've got a big team. So, so you can see my slides, right, Katie?
Yep, everything looks good.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about the background, the process. I'll cover some our most recent work, which is we've actually identified some projects and presented to council along with some funding requests, and then I'll go over what our next steps are. And our council meeting was Monday night. I don't know if you were able to be there or not. We got a really late start, but anyway, it was very successful. So background and process. In fiscal year 2019, our city council authorized a stormwater fee increase, and then they gave us the go-ahead to just work as fast as we could to get this program in place and to be able to deliver projects. And with our ultimate goal of feeding into our capital improvement plan. What we had done before we got this fee increase and enough money was maybe we had about $2 million to spend each year on, one project or two small projects. And so this really elevated the city, and we had to do it because we had a big annexation effort, and that we just were not addressing all the issues citywide. So, you know, so right now we're here, December 2021, and we have presented to council our first group of projects, which is extremely exciting. But I'll tell you a little bit about how we got there. So first of all, like I said, it takes a lot of hands and minds, great minds, working on this kind of program. And if you see, we've got tons of consultants involved, and everybody's just been phenomenal. And it's been a great experience. Like I said, Friesen Nichols serves as our external program manager overall, and then we have different firms doing the managing certain watersheds and modeling watersheds, and also surveyors. But it doesn't stop there. I mean, as y'all all know and might imagine, I mean, not only do we have this, you know, interdepartmental collaboration going on with our stormwater folks, engineering, construction, streets, we also have, you know, across departments citywide with economic community development, parks and rec, emergency management. And then we also have these intergovernmental collaborations as well: emergency management, USGS, the Corps. I should have added DOT as well, and then PwC, which is the Portland Water Commission, which is actually, you know, City of Fayetteville, but you'd be surprised that it's. I'm just learning how we work with them. We do stormwater and public services. They have and streets and traffic. They have the water and utilities and sewer. So I included this slide, and I know it's kind of small to read, which is, you know, always a no-no, but this roadmap shows just kind of at a glance the building blocks that we were putting in place to be able to get, basically to be able to get to this place here, projects to CIP. So we started with the scaffolding of identifying. There's a lot going on down here, and I won't belabor you with all of it, but, you know, in a nutshell, we had to identify where we were going to study, because we just couldn't study the whole, you know, every single part of every single watershed, and we wanted to spread out across the city our studies. So Friesen Nichols was instrumental in conducting a citywide rain on mesh model to help us prioritize where we were going to model. And then we've also been developing a pilot, which is turning into an interesting template, if you will, of how the other, you know, just have the same look across all these different watershed efforts. We have a lot of other things going on. Like we had one USGS gauge in the whole city, so we had very little stream data. So we've started on a process of installing gauges. We have 2 new USGS gauges that they installed last year. It's pretty exciting. I can't wait to go to Feynman and check out what they look like today. And then we're installing 4 of those low-cost sensors from IntelliSense in the next, probably in January, all for, you know, supporting modeling. Hopefully we'll get a grant that we can start building our early flood warning system. That's a dream as well, a vision, which we're going to do eventually. We have some regional overlays, and just looking at some different parts of the city in detail, and thinking about big, huge projects that we can't fund, even with that fee increase or bond. You know, we might have to we're hoping to get some support from the Corps for some of these larger type projects. This is pretty important, this bar here, and if you can't read it, it's really the foundation of our data repository. So we're building, basically we're revamping our whole stormwater geodatabase, because what we had was seriously incomplete, not updated. It just needed an overhaul, and that has taken a lot of effort, a lot of time. Really appreciate the consultants having a lot of patience with us as we work through this. But as we're doing the detailed surveys for the different watersheds, we're feeding that into our new geodatabase, and also as we get model results, they'll go in there as well. And we're driven or guided. Everything we learn, we're populating this consultant management and standards manual, and everybody's participating in providing input to that. You know, our approaches and methodologies are getting vetted as we proceed with our watershed modeling work. I should have an arrow going back to the consultant management standards manual from the watershed models, because we're continuously learning. But eventually, projects to CIP is where we want to be. All right, and I talked a little bit about that. I wanted to point out this study, the Stormwater Incentives for Economic Development. Basically, we were really interested in what we could do to incentivize development. We've got some pretty stringent stormwater criteria, stormwater rules, ordinance, and we didn't want that to hamper our economic development in the city. And so this is more of a research, a compilation of case studies from across the country of what other municipalities are doing. A fee in lieu of, for example, instead of, if you've got a small footprint, maybe downtown, and you don't have room, you don't want to, wouldn't want to sacrifice some good development area for stormwater detention facility or some green infrastructure, you could pay into one somewhere else. And I won't go into that. We haven't done it yet, but it's a concept that we're hoping will come into the program. And then this map is something that we built internally, which is right now it's not available. I don't think it's on our website, but we're going to eventually make it available, and it's getting updated quarterly. We've got an amazing GIS guru on our staff, Andy Raup, and he's put this together to support this economic incentives and regional overlay concepts that we're asking the consultants to look at. So there's no legend. Sorry, I didn't want to really get into the map much, but in a nutshell, it includes the NCDOT STIP corridors, the Parks and Rec kind of planning areas, the PED plan that we've got, the City of Fayetteville, the complaints, stormwater flooding complaints. So it's just packed full of information, and we roll that out to the consultants quarterly. So for the study itself, if this is at a glance, the City of Fayetteville, the watersheds that are in the City of Fayetteville, and we have 15 watersheds. And like I said, we just realized there was no way we could take a whole watershed and study the entire thing, the whole citywide, and we wanted to spread out our studies. So the yellow that you see is what surfaced after conducting the ICM, the rain on mesh modeling, and then the watershed prioritization that followed. We took the subbasins, we evaluated things like disconnected structures, flooded roads, emergency facilities, and then impacted structures. And there might be a few other things that I'm forgetting, but we used those criteria. We did a ranking, scoring, and And then we had a cutoff because we only had so much money. So the yellow are the ones the yellow subbasins are the ones that we identified and presented to council for their approval to begin our studies. So then what you see in red hatched are our watersheds. We say completed. I'd say about 90% completed because we haven't finalized the reports yet. So we have a different consulting team conducting each of the watershed studies, and it's pretty amazing, like all the effort that's going on. We've got Beaver Creek 3. I'll just show you Beaver Creek 3, Rockfish Creek, Cape Fear 2, which is south, and Little Cross Creek. And then Blount's Creek, which is I think might be our biggest one. That's in progress right now. We'll have results in the spring for Blount's. So when we presented this to council on Monday, we pulled in these definitions, and I'm not sure, I don't know this group, so I'll just briefly say that everybody kind of understands a watershed. I wouldn't say it quite like this, but we're using computer software to simulate rainfall runoff for the various storm events to predict how much flooding we've got and to predict how well our system performs during these design storms. And we're looking at a variety of storm events. I think we're at 2, 5, 10, 25, 50, and 100 are the ones that we're actually modeling. And the level of service, most of our city assets that we have designed and built after 2009, they're designed to meet the 10-year level of service. So this actually could serve kind of like a timeline as well. It's our process. So we define that minimum level of service. So what were we looking at? What do we want to design for? But what do we want to study also and understand better? And then prioritize those areas that don't meet that level of service, and scoring and ranking. Develop potential solutions for the prioritized areas we want to move forward with. So the different levels of winnowing down to where we really want to put our money. And once we had developed potential solutions, we needed to know, well, how well do they fix the problem? And then we had a huge, even from just these first 3 or 4 watersheds, we had a huge pot of proposed solutions, and we needed to winnow that down and prioritize to move forward to council. So level of service, what you see in the green, just plain green, are what we designed for, and what you see in the hatched are what we're studying for. So when we say, for example, inlets at SAG locations, 25-year, we actually use that criteria in our scoring of areas of concern, for example. I won't go into detail there. So Little Cross Creek watershed, on the left is the entire watershed, but if you see this, there's we don't actually study what's on Fort Bragg, so I just wanted to make that clear. We have very little information about Fort Bragg. It's kind of like a big blank hole to us. And I'm sure the watershed doesn't see it that way, but that's how we have to work with it. On the right is a focus of the area that we are looking at, and if you see, we've got concern areas, and we rank them high, medium, and low. We didn't just pick the high areas to move forward with. Once we rank them, we ground truth concern areas, we pulled in our people who've been on the ground. You know, we call it boots on the ground people who just know the city inside and out, and they verified and helped us prioritize these concern areas. And then the little red dots you see are if we had suggested the consultant move forward to identify or develop proposed solutions, those are represented by the little red dots. And I mentioned the pilot study. So the arrow, LCR 0501 and 02 were the subbasins that were evaluated as part of the pilot study. And then, like I said, we used the pilot study to really test out our concepts, our methodologies, our modeling decisions, and then also developing our communication tools like this inundation map you see here. So a little bit better glance at what our sample model output is or kind of looks like. This is an inundation map under existing conditions, inundation under future conditions with our, with the consultant's proposed solution. And you can see in the legend, we show what's the highest level of service met currently, and then what we show under future conditions, which is what we're planning for to accommodate climate change and other factors. How well the new proposed solution performs. And you can see, I've got a lot of arrows here. And you can see the inundation and lots of inundation, and then all the inundation goes away. A companion exhibit that goes along with those visuals is the data. So we've created a data sheet, and at the top you see our criteria. So we're looking at impacted lane length, feet of impacted lane length under the 10-year, 25, 50. We're looking at impacted structures, and we say greater than 400 square feet. There aren't that many tiny houses in Fayetteville yet, so I think we're safe doing that. And then a number of impacted essential facilities like schools, daycares, fire stations, that kind of thing. Number of disconnected structures, and that's really where we've got single access, where there's just one road in and the same road out. And if that gets flooded, or if there's one in and one out, but they both get flooded, or however many there are and they all get flooded, we've got disconnected structures. And then we've got traverse road crossing risk. So we actually use a rating of depth times velocity. But those are very important, and they rank pretty high. So we do accounting. There's some scoring and ranking, and then when we have our proposed solution, then we come back and say, yeah, well, we had 2,700 feet of impacted lane length for this city SAG location. Our proposed solution is resulting in 0. So that's 100%, with everything 0, it's 100% efficacy. So what does it look like? Let's just take each watershed at a glance as a whole. So Little Cross Creek, again, we're not 100% on these, and I realize that a few of these numbers are a little bit different than what we presented to council, but the gist, they're very close. Yeah, if you look at a glance, you can see the winnowing down. We had the subbasins, and then we picked out of 69, we picked 20 prioritized. But then within those 20, as we modeled them, we identified 83 concern areas where there were a lot of problems. From there, after the ranking and scoring, we picked about half of them. And then in those half, we said, okay, move forward with developing proposed solutions. And you can see we got out of this watershed 400, and pretty big price tag if we decided for some reason we had some big windfall, even bigger than our current windfall, $58 million. So a lot of improvement, a lot of money. Beaver Creek 3, again, we've got same kind of thing. We winnowed down the priority subbasins out of, we selected about half of the concern areas to move forward with for proposed solutions. And again, pretty big price tag if somebody told us to do them all. And Cape Fear watershed, this is the whole watershed that was studied. We broke that up into two, Cape Fear 2 West, Cape Fear 2 East, given that one, they're quite different areas of the watershed, and they're broken up by the Cape Fear River. They're separated by the Cape Fear River. So if you look at this, right now we say 3 proposed solutions, but there's a footnote here that the consulting firm has actually developed almost 20, but we haven't fully vetted all of them. So we just included 3 here, and that price tag is for, I think it's for those 3. But we had quite a few concern areas in Cape Fear 2 West. We have a lot of problems in Cape Fear 2. And unfortunately, it's really difficult to find solutions that really can help us solve the problems. And you see that here in Cape Fear 2 East. So on this side, it's we're gonna spend more time looking at Cape Fear 2 East. We've got a really big area, ongoing problem area that we're going to have a separate council session on, which is Locks Creek. We say with everything in Cape Fear 2 East, current total cost $27 million, but that does not include Locks Creek options, and our options that the consultant the consultant has identified, evaluated there, and that's Woolpert. They're really, really great modelers. We I think his ranges from 12 million, but the best option is about 40 million just for that one neighborhood. So we're going to have a separate look at that. Well, this one's easy. Rockfish Creek. We started with this one. It was small. We needed to test out our modeling, our ICM capabilities. It's a modeling software that a lot of people are starting to use, and it's new to the city. And so we wanted to start small. And Rockfish Creek is very small a very small priority area, and we didn't move forward with proposed solutions at all because we didn't feel that it was necessary. So just wrap that one up. So I'll move into projects. I don't know, Katie, if you've been getting any questions, but I'll just keep rolling until you tell me.
We just have one request to share your presentation, if that's acceptable at the end.
It should be. What I'd like to do is make sure I have the exact presentation, the pieces. There's some numbers I need to update based on what we gave to council on Monday. And I would definitely be able to share that with you because that's public. I'm hesitant to share. I'll show you. For example, I prepared this ahead of time, Katie, and so let's see. There's some small changes, like not necessarily on these, but on the project slides. Number of feet. So is that okay if I share? It looks just like this. I'll just modify a few of the numbers.
Sure. Yeah, you can just send that to me, and I will get it out to the attendees.
Okay, great. Yeah.
That's all for now.
Okay. So proposed solutions. This was a juggling act, and you know, our stormwater manager, Byron Reeves, many of you may know him. He's also now Assistant Public Services Director, which is great. It's a great role. He presented this part, which is the proposed solutions, and we needed to target a certain dollar value, and then juggle based on you know, how bad are these areas. So we picked 20 million, thinking that that's what we had capacity for. You know, along with our consultants, we looked at concern area score. So first of all, we looked at, all right, let's, you know, the worst to first is what we called it, and then we ranked based off efficacy. So was there a practical solution that was available, and then practical, and if, you know, that worked well enough, and then we wanted some distribution across the watersheds that we've studied. So we didn't want to just focus on one watershed that might have, you know, a lot of high concern areas and a lot of high efficacy projects. We really wanted to spread the money out because everybody's paying into this program. And then we made some strategic decisions, even though we're looking, for example, just to have on the shelf anything. And that includes DOT right-of-way kind of projects, other things, what kinds of you know, maybe there's smaller projects that we can feed into our drainage assistance program. Those types of things we kind of peeled away, and then we were left with the pot to pick from, basically, and propose to council. So, like, for example, one of the numbers I'm going to change here will be a slide of, I think it was 2.2 for that second Cape Fear 2 project. This slide shows 2.3, so it's not going to be big changes. But you see here in a summary, we had 2 for Cape Fear 2 West. We had 5 for Little Cross Creek, and 2 in the Beaver Creek 3. And again, we didn't have any for Rockfish. And this score rank is really the score for the that's a score for the concern area. And then this efficacy was the efficacy of the project itself, proposed solution. We're trying not to call them projects until we actually get funding to do them, which as of Monday, it was approved. So it was pretty cool. Anyway, the total is about $20.7 million. Rough. That's an estimate, of course, at this high level estimate. So in a nutshell, you know, for example, Tryon Drive, we use the exhibits to explain to council, we've got these projects, you know, we've got this concern area. We picked this project. It had a high efficacy. It was $1.6 million. It's going to reduce impacted lane length, about 685 feet for the 25-year level service, and eliminates a traverse road crossing, and also it eliminates 7 disconnected structures for the 50-year event. Another thing I don't mention, I haven't been in municipal government very long, but you know, it's really important too to support our different council districts, and so that's why we have, you know, what council district does this fall under? Because they represent the public, and this money is all paid by the citizens, so it's a rational thing to do. So the Lion Road and Ivy Road culvert, these are showed together. They're actually 2 separate projects, proposed solutions, but we just presented them together because they show up on the same exhibit. So this is the Ivy Road, and this is the Lion Road here. Yeah. And if you can see, together, the Lion Road is reducing 2,700 feet lane length, eliminating 7 to 8 disconnected structures. We don't actually focus on mitigating the impacts to to structures like homes, but we can, while we do score it, if we have our, if it's everything's the same, we would pick, let's solve the problem that let's solve the problem that where we've got impacted lane length. But we do have, and we call it a co-benefit, we really have solved a lot of these issues for these structures too with this project. So as a co-benefit, we claim that as well. And what else? These have a high efficacy. I mean, essentially, you can see we're predicting that we're going to mitigate, at least for the criteria we're using, we're going to mitigate the flooding problems in these areas. And so Sesame Street, that had a lower efficacy. There are a variety of reasons why we selected this one. We felt like, and it has to do with our scoring too. So we felt like even though it had a low efficacy, 50%, we're removing a lot of it, we're mitigating a lot of this flooding on the roadway. So we're going to revisit how we score, how we do our scoring, because this is a very important project. We want to do this one. It's been something that we've known about for years, and so we were not going to discount it just based on that lower efficacy. And that's why having this real integrated involvement with the city staff and across the different divisions and departments, having that integration of within the city and across between the city and the consultant is so very important. It's been invaluable. Adams Street, that actually has about 50 to 70% efficacy. So I'll change this on this slide. But when we first saw the efficacy, we were looking at how well this project will perform if we also build, together. So if we build this one, I think it's this one. Well, no, I'm not sure if it's, if we build this project and then this one as well, this would have had 100%. But we actually started looking closely at what this downstream project would be, and it's kind of behind I think a grocery store, and the flooding problem is really their parking lot, and so we just separated those out and selected this project to move forward with, to provide the greater benefit to the public. So I won't go over them all, but there's another one, Rosemary Drive, Remish Drive, and that's in Beaver Creek 3. Yeah, I mean, if anybody's got any feedback on how well, or did you have any problems reading these? But we feel like these exhibits are just at a glance very, very easy to take a look at and see what's happening. This is actually a depth slide. We've got exhibits for inundation, but we also have exhibits for depth, and that's important where you've got, for example, this traverse road crossing risk, and that might be why we've included that here, because we use depth. We use depth to determine what that risk rating is. And you can see for here, you can see the brown basically, and it goes up to 9 inches. All of that goes away. Yeah. Okay. So in a nutshell, basically we've got about $21 million in our first tranche of projects, and we're using a 2.1% cost escalation factor in general for the whole project. And so we're taking a look at that, and just for council's purposes saying, well, if we build it now, 21, if we wait, it's going to cost more in the future, and basically. And then we did a summary, if we do this, what does this really give us? And there are a lot of, I know a lot of y'all probably work in some of this field, but there are a lot of other co-benefits, if you will, that we haven't considered. There's certain things that we're looking at right now that I kind of breeze past. But for example, we've got a closed circuit TV program. And so for these proposed solutions, we went out and really focused on these areas, our existing infrastructure. And so one of them, I can't remember which one now, the infrastructure is failing. And so that fed into our decision making as well. And we'll continue doing that, just focusing on our proposed areas. And who knows, if we have as we get deeper into our CCTV program, we may actually juggle we're anticipating possibly needing to juggle our prioritized list of projects to accommodate some pipe somewhere else, or something that's going to fail, imminent failure that we don't know about yet. So there's those kind of considerations, and we know that we're fitting into the CIP. We're hoping to continue, and as we get new information from the other watersheds, we'll continue to feed and reconsider our prioritizations. So for those of you who weren't able to attend the council meeting, we didn't start till 8. It went really long, but we asked for two things. We asked for the additional funding for watershed studies, and I'll tell you why. And then we asked for consensus on the projects that we presented. So one of the first slides I showed you showed all the yellow, and I said, well, these were our prioritized subbasins. But then as we started modeling and developing the program and learning more about what does it take, and then we had a certain, I think it was 13 million, we decided now what's in the hatched is what we actually could afford to do in the future. So if you take a close look at, for example, Bones, for example, that's a good one. So, well, a lot of it's up here in Fort Bragg, but in the city boundary, we had a lot of yellow. And then with our cutoff, with our existing budget fund balance, we were only able to do a couple. And so what we came back to the council with was, we just don't think we're doing these other watersheds as, the same level. We're not providing the same care and evaluation as we were for these first 3 or first 4 by this limited budget. So we came back and asked for another 2.5 million to be able to do the yellow, not the hatched. And what you've got here in the color scheme, the green is proposed funded for 2021. So these are ones we just talked about. Carver's Creek also started in this fiscal year, and then we have started some surveys in some other areas. I'll get the right thing. And then we asked for consensus on projects on Monday, and presented this timeline, and it was kind of we think this is what it would really take, to be able to start survey, to be able to begin design, complete construction. We're looking at asking for a couple of bonds, and council said, can you shorten that timeline? Can you start building stuff sooner? And can you do more? So basically, like, well, why are we waiting? Let's do 150 million. Like, well, okay. we want to kind of work a little closer and describe in our prioritization, and just because we show projects, maybe that they don't all need to be done. So we're going to work on our communication a little bit better. All right, so next steps. Again, so y'all have seen this a few times now, but we're about 90% complete with these watersheds shown in red hatched. We're expecting results, more results, and we'll focus more on this fuchsia, which is a Locks Creek area, really complicated area. Let's see, and Blounce. Blounce is here. This was a large one. We gave it more time. Arcadis is doing Blounce. Hazen is doing Beaver Creek 3. Kimley Horn, Little Cross Creek. Gradient, HDR, and Willport are doing Cape Fear 2. We're going to be doing Little Rockfish Creek 1 this year in-house. It's very small. We've got an in-house modeler, Ali Shalal, and we're going to work closely with Friesen Nichols modeling team to complete this study, but we're going to see what we can do in-house as well. So Little Rockfish 1, Bones, Carvers, and Cross Creek. Cross Creek's another really big one, and Beaver Creek 2 are coming up soon. And then in 2024, the remaining ones. And we made a decision. There's not much out there for Stewart's, and I think the other one is Buckhead. No, looks like we are going to do Buckhead. So, but I don't think we're going to do Stewart. So that's what we asked for council, and they approved us moving forward. So now we're in a position of having a lot more work. So anyway, that's all I've got. Katie, if does anybody have any questions for me?
We've got a couple. The first one, are your rain event estimates averaged across the watersheds, or do you account for localized heavier downfalls?
I think that I'm not sure, Katie, but I can get that answer to you.
Okay.
Because I know that that's really important in Fayetteville, and I'm not sure how we decided to handle that, but I can get that answer.
Okay. The next one, are you funding your future stormwater projects with bonds only, or are you including some funding with stormwater fees collected?
The latter. So we're doing a combination. So we're going to use our fees collected. We have some fund balance already. So when I said I think it was $1 million, that's available. $1.5 million we've asked for in addition, and then we are going to ask for, I think our bond that we're going to ask for is $20 million. And so then you saw that one slide. Let me just go back to it. Yeah, you see this slide. We're actually, I think at some point we may, I think we're thinking of, I don't know if we're going to go back and ask for another fee increase, but over time, that's quite likely. And we've got this first bond, and then we've got the second bond, and that's just how the money's all working out and payback, and a lot of things I don't understand with respect to how all that part works.
Okay, another question. You noted not knowing what is going on Fort Bragg, but are you accounting for their runoff in any way within the watersheds affected?
I don't know how they're accounting for that, and let me just take a quick look. The only one right now is Little Cross Creek that is being modeled, and I don't know that the creek extends up in there. I'm not sure. I'm sorry, y'all are asking now the technical details, but I can get back to you on that too.
Okay.
But no, we don't. They don't share information with us. So the city has on our strategic, I don't know, our vision, our goals for this year is to really try to develop that relationship better. And in fact, I know from USGS that they've just installed a couple of USGS gauges, and I believe we have access to that data through some of that data through Feynman. So, but we just found out about that. So yeah, that's been a tenuous kind of thing, but I can get an answer to you, Katie, as well. Would you want me to put those answers in the slideshow? Maybe that's the way to do it.
That'd be great. And then I can pass it on.
Yeah. So how do we account for Fort Bragg runoff?
Yep. And then if the rain estimates are averaged across watersheds or accounted for localized heavier downfalls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know they've been talking a lot about that. I just don't know what kind of decision has been made. Rain estimates averaged across or account for heavier localized rainfall. Okay.
And that's all of the questions that we've got right now. Alicia, thank you so much for your presentation and your time today. Do you have any last words or thoughts?
No, I'm really excited that you invited us, Katie, and we're really excited about our program. So the more we get to share it, and at some point, probably every consultant on this call is going to be working on it. I don't know, but as you can see, there's a lot of work coming up, and we actually have a lot of initiatives too. We're going to be studying some of the dams. We just received proposals for looking at some of the dams across the city as a potential for a dry storage. We just received a lot of proposals for. We just received proposals for design and construction. So we were trying to get ready for this big influx of projects, and I do want to say we have not come out with a fourth RFQ, and I wanted to just, if anybody here is curious, that's because of me. I had a personal kind of issue come up, but that's my focus now since we've gotten through this proposed solutions and are asked to cancel. We'll be getting that out pretty soon as well, and that's for opening our on-call for stormwater modeling, and it's just to open it up to other people. We're definitely keeping our modelers that we have. We really love working with everybody. So anyway, that's all, Katie.
Okay.
Sort of.
Are you available? We had one more quick comment. Are you available for contact from smaller municipalities with advice?
Yes, and if I don't know the answer, Katie, I will go find it for them.
Okay. Great. Well, Alicia, thank you so much for your time today. Everyone on the line, we have a short break and we will be back online at 9:45 for our next session. All right. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.